I can feel it calling in the air tonight. Sorry. Hey cousins, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Reese, aka Bishop. You could call me either or, I don't mind. Today she's giving lazy natural but make it impressive. You know what I'm saying? Miss Empress. I will leave the link in the description below where you can get this lovely hair wrap. It saved my life today because your girl's not doing her hair. It's not happening. I can't be asked. It's wash day and that's how it go. So yeah, this is part 2 of my surviving endometriosis, stage 4 endometriosis. I can't talk today. Surviving stage 4 endometriosis story. Now if you haven't watched part 1, I'll link it in the cards below and I'll try and put a link in the description also. You need to watch that first before you watch this one, and when you watch that one you come back to this one and then you like, comment and subscribe and hit the notification bell, and then you will get the next one. And hold on, no sis, it's not that kind of party. What is going on here? Right, so all of that out of the way, as I was saying on the last video, I finished it off with me bawling in the doctor's office and finally getting my referral after a decade of being in pain. So this incident happened, that doctor's appointment I believe happened in November-December time, and my referral date came around and it was towards the end of January, beginning of February, I believe. I can't remember the exact date. And so, you know, I got the letter in the post and I saw it was King's College Hospital. No hate to King's College Hospital, innit? But I was a bit dubious. Anyway, so I go in January or February. I go basically to my referral, and because I got the referral, I didn't go in there with like a doubt in mind like I did on my other previous appointments, as I've mentioned in the last video. I was really like, oh yeah, like we could do it, we got it, we gonna get some answers. That is not what happened. I was booked in for an ultrasound. It was an internal ultrasound. Now if anybody out there has had an internal ultrasound, you don't know how uncomfortable that is. Like I just felt so violated, to put it frankly. Like, you feel so violated because, you know, it's a probe and they're probing. So yeah, and obviously I was in pain, and you know, not to have TMI or anything, but the lady asks, like, do you have pain when you urinate, defecate, have intercourse, yada yada yada, and the answer to the above was yes. So obviously imagine now it's an internal probe. It's a similar, methodology to intercourse. So obviously the pain was paining me. So she was like, okay, like, you know, everything looks fine. No, sorry, tell a lie. She did the external ultrasound first. You know, the one where you have, like when you have a baby and they put the jelly and they look inside it. She was like, oh, I can't really see anything. So she was like, so we'll do the internal ultrasound. So I was like, all right, cool. It is what it is. Like, if you're giving me, you're hopefully giving me an answer to what's been going on. So that happens. Oh, these need to stay where they're supposed to stay. Right, so that happened, and then we move on to the internal ultrasound, which I just described. As soon as the probe just went over the threshold, if you know what I'm saying, you know, I'm not trying to offend YouTube's guidelines or anything, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, the pain did lick me in my backside. Literally, like, I felt the pain in my bum. I was just like, oh my god. What the fuck is that? Like, you know when you just have the one tear just drop? And it was so dramatic, like the way it dropped here, you know, the Titanic song. The way the tear fell from my eye, I was like, okay, this is gonna be a long appointment. So she's there, you know, check in. Now we've got 2 ovaries, and she was checking the right side first, and that was painful. It was uncomfortable. It wasn't too bad. So I was like, you know, you grimace and you grips the bed and whatever. and then she hits the left side. Now the left side is where I had most of the issues. I don't know why, that was just where it was irritating me the most. The pain was formulating the most. Anyway, as soon as she didn't even move it, like, so that this is the central line, it was like this, like it was a tiny bit. And I said to her, now you need to stop. The nurse looked at me, she was like, there's no need to be so dramatic. Ma'am, I'm telling you, it hurts. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it. Stop it. It's hurting. Ouch. You know? And she was like, oh, you know, but this is, you know, what we have to do, you know, just to make sure, you know, so we can roll out everything. I said, alright, cool, carry on. So that was, she just moved it to the side. So I was like grimacing. Now, I'm the type of person, if you know me personally, you touch my hand, my hands are always dry. Like an alligator's backside in the middle of the Nevada desert. Like, my hands are always like dry. I don't know why, they're just dry. My hands were sweaty as heck. Like, my palms were sweating. I didn't know this was possible. Like, my palms were sweating. And you know when you're on the bed, it has the tissue. You could see my handprint on the bed. And I'm the type of person, like, when I'm in pain, like, I just get mad hot. Like, I was so hot and uncomfortable, and I was still laying there, and she's, you know, probing around and poking and taking notes and stuff. And I thought, I'm telling you, I'm not even exaggerating, the appointment must have been about, the probing and situation must have been about less than a minute. I legit felt like I was laying there for half an hour, like the pain. So then I'm just like, I was like, okay, can you stop now? So she was like, she went to take it out. So I was thinking, it was almost like a sigh of relief. And then she clicked something on the screen, and she was like, oh, I need to check something again. No, there was no like warning, like, oh, I'm gonna reinsert. It was just, and you know the ones you just lose your breath. Like, the breath was knocked out of me. It was just like, I was winded. I was actually winded, and like I went like this. Like, obviously you can't see what my legs did, but my legs kind of like quinch up. And Lily kicked her, because obviously your legs are, you know, east and west. You're saying hello. And obviously my knees jerked up, and she's kind of, it's weird the way they do it. Like, they don't literally stand at the end of the bed. They kind of like put their arm over your leg and lean over. So obviously oh Lord, is my elbow dry? No, okay. So yeah, so she kind of leaning over my leg, and then, so my leg is under here. So when I hitched up my leg, I nearly kneed her in the face. That wasn't a great example, but hopefully my description you can kind of understand. So yeah, so I was just like, yo, like, what are you doing? Like, that was uncalled for. Like, in my head I'm thinking, she really chose violence today. Like, this bitch want to kill me. Like, you really want to kill me. So I was just like, you know what? She was like, oh, you know, I just have to recheck something. And I was like, yeah, but you could have like warned me so I could brace myself. So we're having, not like a tit for tat, but like, not a bickering, but it was a back and forth in it. I was like, listen, you're a nurse, you're a medical professional. You need to, like, you need to listen to your patients. So if I'm telling you something hurts, then please bear that in mind when you're continuing doing whatever you're supposed to be doing, or not supposed to be doing in some cases. So I was just like, oof, that itch was nice. Sorry. So yeah, I was just like, okay, so what are you doing now? Why did you have to re-examine? She was like, oh, I didn't take a photo, like a clearing out photo of your left ovary. I was like, okay, reasonable reasonable answer. And I feel like it was at this point that she wanted to kill me. There's no other way about it. She wanted to kill me, or she wanted me to kill her. Either or, somebody was dying in that room. One person was living in a body bag. I promise you it would not have been me, because she's there poking my left side, poking. So she checks it. She's like, does this hurt? You know, does it hurt when I do this? Does it hurt when I do this? So I'm saying, yeah. She's like, oh, okay. Bearing in mind, she's on the computer, and the probe is still inside me, inserted. I don't know what changed in the couple of seconds she went to type on the computer, and when she came back to look at my wombage. However, she was just, She was moving raggo with it. Like, she was definitely... I don't understand. Like, when I tell you, she was doing lightsaber movements. Like, she was really lightsaber in my womb. Like, it was really... By this time, I'm full-blown crying. And I just said to her, I said, listen, stop. Like, just whatever the fuck you're doing, just stop it. I don't want it. I'm sure you've got enough information. And she's like, no, you know, I have to be thorough in these things because I've read on your notes that you've been, you know, complaining about this for a long time. I said, yeah, 10 years. But, like, whatever you're doing is clearly not helping. It feels like it's worse. So bear in mind, we're having this conversation now. She's holding the probe. She's not moving it. She's just holding it so it doesn't, like... It's gonna sound so gross, but it doesn't, like, slide out. Oh. Wow. So I was like, have you found anything since you need to go back and check and be so thorough? She was like, oh, no, nothing yet. So I was like, okay, so what could be the explanation for my pain? She looked me dead in my eye. I even have my glasses on, so dead in my 4 eyes. And told me, there's nothing wrong. You must be suffering from a placebo effect. A placebo effect. I had to get close, you know, I had to, for the ones in the back, I had to let them know. A placebo effect. I'm trying to understand, even this day, in 2021, I'm trying to understand, how can I have a placebo effect from that? Like, huh? No ma'am. No ma'am. No ma'am.
No ma'am. No ma'am.
You cannot be serious. Like, there's no way you honestly, you can't be serious. Like, is it crack you're smoking? It must be crack, because that sentence itself, it didn't even make sense. I didn't take anything for anything to now become a placebo effect. I looked her dead in the face. I was thinking in my head, so you want to be cheeky, you want to be stupid, I'll now be stupider, and then you'll look the stupidest. So my eyes even twitching, I'm getting irritated. So yeah, so I was like, if you fell down and broke your nose, and you told me when you came in this appointment that your nose is sore and it still hurt, and I boxed you in your nose, and you told me it hurts, I'm looking you dead in the face, I'm like, nah, it don't hurt. It's a placebo effect still. Tell me where that will make sense. I'll wait. That's a 33 mark question, brethren. Let me know where that will make sense. Because the last time I checked, that doesn't make any sense. So here the crying out. So when I'm saying that now, I feel like because I was so assertive and I was asking questions, she was just fed up and she was like, ugh, another problematic patient. So when I gave her the analogy of boxing her in her broken nose, she yanked the thing out. Like, I don't even want to be silly because I'm just, you know, that's just me in it. But you know, when something does this noise, like, that's almost the sound it makes. That's how quick she pulled out the probe. I was like, wow, is this what we're doing? So obviously she takes off they have to put a condom on it and wrap it up and sanitize her gloves, and she's all doing all of that. And you know how they take off the thing and try and wrap it. She was, when I tell you, yeah, this lady has so much vim when she was packing up the stuff. She was slamming this thing, and then, you know, like the bins, they have to press the foot pedal for the thing to come. She stamped on it, and I was just sitting there with my body all out of doors, like wind in crevices that I didn't need, just looking at this lady. And I did look to her and I was like, that's not very professional. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, what's the problem? Because at that time I was genuinely confused. I was like, I just asked the question because what you said to me was stupid. I now responded with stupider, and now between the two of us, you look the stupidest. That sounds like a you problem. Like, well, what do you want me to do with that stupid information? So she was still slamming it around, and when she was tapping the keyboard, she was like, so I was just like, alright, cool. I'm here. I've got no dignity at this point. I'm sitting there, sprawl out, with no wax, nothing. Like, I had no shame that day. So I was like, okay, so what happens now? Like, where do we go from where do we go from here? Like, where do we go from here? Like, where do we go from here? Because you didn't give me any answers. I'm asking questions and I'm still not getting any answers. And now you're throwing a tantrum. So I put my trousers on or whatever else I was wearing, and I was like, okay, so, you know, what's my options? Do I have to go to another appointment? Do I have to da-da-da? She really ignored me. Like, where I was standing, because it was like a sunny January day, you know, like you have those, or February day, you know, like the winter sun where it's bright but it's still cold. So I put on, it's what I call my roadman jacket. You lot that know me know the jacket, that night jacket. I put that on, I zipped it up, and as I zipped it up, I caught her reflection in the thing. She's looking at me through the reflection in her monitor screen, and I'm talking to her, but you're actively ignoring me. Sis, I have caught indirect eye contact with you, like, why are you being childish? So I asked her again, louder, and I was like, so where do I go from here? Like, what do I do? Da-da-da. She was like, oh, I was like, yeah, like, I'm not the one to fuck with, respectfully. So she was like, oh, I could book you for a second opinion, a referral. I was like, oh, okay. She was like, okay, thanks, you know, nice to meet you, see you later, bye. She turned back around. So I'm just standing there, and she was like, oh, you can go, like, you know, everything's finished. So I was like, yeah, write the referral then. Well, refer me then. Like, I know. Thinking about it now, it's actually wild. And she was like, oh, you know, we do that when the patient leaves the room. I said, well, how do I know what you're writing? Because I've had this issue. So I was like, I'm going to stay here until you write it. She's, oh, I've got another appointment next. Okay. To write the referral then. So she's typing up something, like, you know, every time you go to an appointment, they kind of write up a synopsis of what occurred during that appointment. Ask me please why. She was like, mild discomfort. So in my head I'm thinking, this shit hasn't been solved for 10 years, or I haven't got anywhere for 10 years because of these wallads that are writing foolishness. Because there was no such, I didn't even mention mild discomfort. It hurts. I was bawling. I nearly booted you in the face. Like, Muay Thai kick to the face. Like, what? So she backspaced it and actually wrote, and I was like, you need to write that I was crying because that is the case. You need to write that I verbally said that it hurt multiple times. You know, I got Caucasian with it. And I played them at their own game, but I said some fancy shit, and I was like, that's what you need to write because that is the case. So she wrote that, sent it off, and I saw that it sent, and I was like, thank you, have a nice day, whatever. So the referral's now sent off. I go home about my business, and I'm obviously still in the pain, whatever, and the second referral comes around. Now by this time, my mom's back in the country for the Easter holidays. I had never been so nervous. Like, that day, something just hit me. Like, the nerves, the anxiety. This makeup and running nose thing is really irking my spirit. So yeah, so I'm there in the waiting room with my mum. They were running late. So I think my appointment was at 3:20. I didn't get seen until like 5:20, I think. So you can imagine, with my overthinking brain as well, like, you can only imagine what the hell was going through my head. Like, anyway, so we get into the appointment, and listen, just know, yeah, I'm so grateful for this lady. I nearly kissed her in the mouth. Like, that's how elated I was. Like, I nearly gave her one big smacker, like, in the face, like, in her mouth. I was so happy. So she was like, hi, okay, my name is Dr. P, so she had a long last name, but her last name began with P. I've heard you've been having some issues. I've read the files here. Da, da, da. She was like, oh, how's the pain? And I was like, yeah, it's really painful. Like, she was on a scale of 1 to 10. And I was just like, on an average day, it's like 8. On a bad day, it's like 12. And the woman just stopped typing. She just looked at me like this. She was like, you've been walking around with this pain, like, and I was like, I have been told constantly that there's nothing wrong. So I've now started to almost believe that there's nothing wrong, but I can't now ignore the pain that I've been feeling, kind of thing. After that little 5-minute rundown of what I've been going through, so she told me to sit on the table. So once again, my dignity is out there. Still no wax, because at this point, I just didn't give a heck. My legs were east and west, and at least with this lady, like, I had to do the internal probe again, and I was thinking,
oh shit, here we go again.
And so she was like, I'm gonna do this. Like, she was letting me know each step of the way. The probe wasn't even inserted fully, and it wasn't even inside, sorry, it wasn't even inside 10 seconds, and she went, oh, you know how they click on the ultrasound keyboard, zooming in, turning the screen and looking and turning her head like this, and then look. So I'm just laying there. So she goes, come here and look, to my mum. My mum was like, I don't want to look at that part of my child, it's okay. She was like, no, not like that. So she turned the screen. She's like, no, come and look at the screen and look. So she's kind of blown up like the picture on the screen. So me, I'm even curious now. I'm breaking my neck to see. But she's pointing on the screen. She said, look at this. She said, I'm just going to do this. So she said, so she moved it. She said, you see when I move this? She says, nothing happens. I said, yeah, no, I didn't see nothing move on the screen. She said, exactly. I said, what do you mean? She said, she did it to the right side. So she's doing the same thing on the right side. Obviously, uncomfortable, pain, whatever. So you see how this moves? I was like, yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, like, the suspense is killing me. Like, what are we getting to? So she was like, those 2 things that I just showed you were your ovaries. I was like, oh. So she's telling me that your ovaries are supposed to float. So you see how the image of a uterus and the ovaries, like, say like I'm the uterus and then this is the fallopian tubes and then your ovaries are just here, like, woo. So see, like, when your uterus moves, they're supposed to, ooh, be silly, but they're supposed to like move with you. So obviously, you know, when you're running and you're walking and they're just floating. Obviously I have the pain, especially she used the example with having sex. Obviously something is being inserted and certain things are moving, but if the ovary's stuck, it's kind of pulling. Like, this is the first time I've ever heard this word. She said it looks like endometriosis. I said what? I was like, sorry, could you just repeat that word again? She was like, endometriosis. And she showed me the charts on the wall, which had, I put them in the previous video, but I'm gonna put them here as well, the stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. So she briefly explained what it meant. She was like, from what I can see, due to the fact that your ovary is fused to something, obviously because an ultrasound you can only see soft tissue, she doesn't know what exactly it is. She's like, your ovary is stuck. So she was like, it could be stage 2 or 3, maybe even 4, but there's no way we will know without a laparoscopy. All of these words that I was hearing that day, yeah, it was a lot. Like, she gave me a leaflet and I read it and stuff, and the first thing that caught my eye was the fertility thing. Now I was like, my little heg, my poor little hegs, like, what's gonna happen to them? So she was like, we're not, she was so honest with me. She was like, I can't give you any definitive answers until we look inside. Tuned out. Like, I was just stuck on the fact that endometriosis causes subfertility, in some major cases infertility, and that the only way to actually be diagnosed with it is to have operation. So you have to cut into me to get, oh my Lord have mercy. So my mum was like, okay, we'll take the information, and she kind of took over from there. I don't really remember much. I just remember her saying, like, put her name on the list and then she can call to council if she doesn't want to, or she can rearrange, whatever. So we left there, like the relief of knowing finally after 10 years. I think by this time it was even coming to 13 years. 10 years to 13 years. What kind of maths am I doing? Jeez Louise. What is 12 minus? No, what is 12? Eh, God. Anyway, it was a while, put it that way. And then I got a letter in the post in August, and I saw that they had booked an appointment for me it was either the last day of September, I think it was the 30th of September or the 1st of October. So the appointment comes around now, and they were like, oh yeah, you know, it's an outpatient thing, you're only in for a day because, you know, we're just looking at what's inside. Okay. So now I go, they said that my operation time, is at 12 o'clock. I went in, and to my surprise, it was a woman's only ward, but I'm seeing people with their husbands. And I was like, so is it because he's not my husband that he couldn't come in? Like, what is the issue? There was 3 white ladies and their significant others. I'm not going to assume that they're husbands, but their male partners were there. And then there was one Asian lady. I don't know where she was from, but she was an Asian lady, but she was Muslim. And she was in a separate room because obviously there's male nurses and stuff on the ward. So she had a room at the front of the ward, and her husband was in there with her. And I was just like, ain't that some shit? So I was like, cool. So I laid there, and they couldn't get the flipping compression socks on me because my calves were a bit chunky. What they don't tell you, this is the sidebar. With endometriosis, I carry a lot of water weight and just weight in general. So there's sometimes, especially when I have a flare up, I get really puffy and chunky. So you might even notice, like in the videos, one day I look kind of chubby, one day I look a bit slim, one day my boobs are like up here, and then one day they're just like nubs, like mosquito bites. It just is what it is. But this time I was really swollen. And then they gave me the gown with the back out of doors. So I'm walking through the ward with my back out of doors, and these white ladies' husbands is just there. But anyway, it was just, I felt like I was in a Twilight Zone. I was like, oh my God, there's breeze coming in my back. Like, it was just too much. So I'm rolling into the suite now, and the operation suite. And there is bare people. Like, I know I watch, you know, like you watch Casualty or The Bill or, I don't know, Grey's Anatomy, and there's just bare people in the room. I didn't think that was actually the case. Like, I knew there'll be like 2 people and then one person doing the monitoring, and there was so, I couldn't account. I think just looking around, there must have been about 20 people in that room. I was like, for my small piece of belly, like, what the hell? But then I'd realised that final year students were in there like observing and taking part, and I was like, wait, a student isn't going to be doing my surgery, right? And the lady was like, no, just relax. I was like, now I'm wheeled into this operating theatre, and there's a whole bag of man in here that I don't know what. It's not even like, hi, this person's doing anesthesia, hi, this person's monitoring your heart. It was just bare people, and I'm laying there. By this time, the consultant, Dr. P, she came in and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, can you just tell him like I want it here and not in my hand? And then he told her, and then when I'm talking to her, I felt the thing prick me, or he was holding my hand. I went like this, and he, you know that TikTok, yeah, where they're doing the nails, and that's literally what we was doing. We was doing tug of war with my hand. So I'm like this on the bed laying down, and then she's like stroking my face because I was crying. I was just like, this is too much. I was just overwhelmed. I couldn't do it. Honestly, I couldn't do it. So then they had to give me like a gas thing to kind of make me feel like a bit lightheaded and stuff. And then that's when he managed to slip it in my hand. I was so pissed. And then after that, I don't remember, I just woke up freezing. Like, I feel the cold. Like, ask anyone that knows me. I'm always like, yo, I'm cold. Like, I'm cold. Like, why is it so cold? This cold, like, my bones were cold. Like, my bone marrow was cold. That's how cold I was. And the shivering. I don't remember anything after that. And I remember waking up in the ward, I felt like I wanted to be sick. Obviously, I'm not looking at the time and stuff. I'm still trying to get over the delirious part of anesthesia. It was a myth. It was an absolute myth. Me and anesthesia do not get along. So now, somebody comes into, you know, the curtain thing. She comes into my curtain bit on the ward and was like, hi Reese, my name's, I don't remember her name. She's an African lady, a doctor. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So she was like, I have some notes for you and stuff, and, you know, I need to go through a few things. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. So I was like, okay, so what was it that was wrong? And she was like, it's confirmed, you've been diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis. Even just thinking about it, my eyes is ready to draw water. Like, the relief of being told what is wrong with me is unexplainable. It's honestly unexplainable. So she was like, yeah, so what happened was, my left ovary, the left side of my uterus, the back of my uterus, my bowel, my bladder. There was something else as well. Oh, and like, I don't know what it's called. Like your anal channel, like where your doo-doo comes out of. Rectum. It was all, you know when kids get Play-Doh, you have different colours and it just, that's what it looked like. But the way the tissue grew, it just looked like I was carrying a massive cauliflower. And when I saw how big that was, I was like, now I understand why my belly was always so big, even when I was skinny. Like, in secondary school, beginning of college, I was like a size 6, but my belly would always be like, ugh. And a lot of people always like, wow, why do you wear baggy clothes? One, I'm tomboy, you know, whatever. But two, it was just the added thing of having to hide the fact that I genuinely looked pregnant and I wasn't. So anyway, so I was like, oh, okay. So she was like, what we had to do, she was like, oh, we had to do a uterine 360, and she gave me all of this and da da da. I was like, okay. And she was like, oh, just to let you know, we've had to pin your ovary to the back to your stomach wall. I said, what? They stitched, like once they separated everything, they put a dissolvable stitch on the outside of my ovary and pinned it to my abdominal wall. That was the weirdest sensation I have ever felt in my life. Because your ovaries are like far in your back almost. So when I'm coughing, sneezing and moving and shit, I can feel it. Calling in the air tonight. Sorry. I can actually feel it. Like it was so weird. That was just, it was horrible. But then when she explained that, I looked down and my belly, I looked about 8 months pregnant. I was swollen. I couldn't see my toes. But I was like, what the hell? She was like, oh yeah, you'll be a bit swollen for a while. We had to inject you with carbon dioxide so you can expand your abdomen so we can actually see what's going on. She was like, your body will just, you know, absorb it and you know, it will go as it, you know, it will go in its own time. I thought the endometriosis pain was bad. Now they cut me in 6 different places. So they went through my belly button, this is where they put the carbon dioxide. I've got 2 holes on my right side, I've got 2 holes on my left side, and I've got one like on my, what's it called? Your mons pubis? You know, so this is my vagina. The top of my vagina is like right here. I've got like a scar. That one keloid, that one was horrible, but it's fine now. So I had that, and if I have pictures, I'll put it up. You know, anyway. So that happened, and I eventually got let to go home. I didn't realise though, so I went in at 12. By the time I was coherent enough to look around and clock what I was doing, it was 7 o'clock in the evening. And it was because of how difficult it was to separate all of my internal organs without causing further damage to my reproductive system, if that makes sense. So yeah, so they cleared all the blockages and the lesions and the implants and the what have yous. And I come out my big 8 months pregnant looking self. And yeah, so I was just, it was just crazy. That whole experience was just crazy. So then after that, now 2 days after that, my stitches burst. I tried to be the independent woman and be doing stuff and lifting this and my stitches kind of burst. I know I have a picture of that, so I'll insert it here. This is what it looked like, and it was just horrible. And that was just painful. So that kind of slowed my process down. They didn't like burst like completely open, but they let's say like they stitched the skin. My skin kind of pulled apart a bit and it was just bleeding. So this is what it looks like under the skin. Yeah. So that happened, and on the road to recovery, I was just told to, this is the funniest part, I've gone through all of that over the 10, 11, 12, 13, however many years. I was 24 at the time, so 24, 12 years. I finally got the maths right. When I went for my outpatient appointment 6 months later, all they said to me was, you need to take the pill. I said, oh, okay, yeah. But I take the pill back to back for 3 months. And then I have a week break. Now, anybody listening to that will think, what the fuck? That is not how you take the pill. This is how I was advised by the gynecology consultants. I'm not, do you know what I mean? Like, I was already taking it because to handle the symptoms and stuff and the hormonal acne that I get. But this is the way I was told to take it after my appointment, to slow the growth of endometriosis. Now my thing is that's not a cure. Oh, there's no cure for it anyway, so it's whatever. But that's not a cure. Me taking it back to back for 3 months and then only having one period, it's gonna trick my body into menopause. I don't want that. There's also the fact that when you have a period on the pill, it's not a real period. Now there's one thing that they don't tell you, and it really irritates me, is it can heighten your depression and anxiety. My anxiety, not so much, but my depression was a bit high at one point. Like the depressive episode, the recovery in itself was it was a lot. So like I didn't fully recover until I would say about just under a year after, because obviously I still had to be careful in case I got a hernia and whatever. And also taking a pill in such not high doses, but so frequently and for such a prolonged period of time, it makes your hair fall out. No one can't tell me shit. My hair, even in secondary school, my hair was thin and it was falling out because of how I had to take it. And then after my operation, this shedding, it was like, I've seen postpartum shedding. It was worse than that. Like my hair was so thin. Oh, now it's thick now, but it was just mad. So for me, taking the pill isn't really, it's not something I want to do long term. Now, I'm still trying to look into natural substitutes, or more natural substitutes, because this synthetic shit, I can't do it. I really can't do it. Now, if I don't take the pill for like 2 or 3 days, one day, like when I've got the mental strength to do it, I'm not going to take the pill for a week. I'm going to come and do a video, and you lot will see the disgusting way I look. Like I even start to grow hair. Like I get a hairy chest. Not really, but you can't really see it because I got boobs, but the middle bit, the actual chest bit of mine, it started to grow hair. Now I'm only thankful because that kind of body hair of mine is blonde, so it's not really noticeable unless you're in my breast like this. But it's not pretty, it's not cute. So yeah, if anybody has any natural suggestions or any alternative ways to help cope with endometriosis, please drop a comment below or DM me on Instagram. My DMs are open, my Instagram page is open. Please let me know so we can have a discussion, or if there's anyone else out there that suffers from what I'm suffering from, let's just start a discussion. Let's just, you know, start a dialogue and see where it goes from there. If you guys want to have a conversation in the comments, by all means go ahead, but keep it respectful because I'll be blasting your ass and deleting on your comments if you're being rude and disrespectful. Coming forward is still a work in progress. It's still, every day I have to work through it. I'm used to it now, and at least I'm more aware of what it is and what's going on and how my body's reacting to certain things. Because of the panoramic, my appointment's been cancelled because my pain is coming back, unfortunately, and the few doctor's appointments that I did have, they're saying it seems like I'll need to have another operation. But like I said, because of the Panasonic, it got cancelled and it got moved. It's been cancelled and moved 6 times in the last 3 or 4 months. So I'm not really holding my breath, but I'm gonna explore the option of trying to freeze my eggs before I have any further operations, because there's only so much abrasive and invasive things you can do to one's reproductive system without, like, you know, without damaging it permanently. So if and when I choose to do that, I'll probably document it and just let people know, like, this is how it goes. And for some people out there who don't have medical issues but still want to freeze their eggs, I guess it could be helpful. You know, we never know. So cousins, that is my survival of stage 4 endometriosis story. Thank you for listening. I know this second video is a little bit longer than the first one. Didn't expect it to be, but it's cool. You've made it this far. Thank you. I appreciate you. I love you. Leave yellow hearts in the comments in solidarity for endometriosis. I appreciate the love and the support. Go like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.
That's all, folks.